Hi, this is Charlie, and Happy New Year to you. It's Wednesday, the 4th of January. And so, what I'm going to do to cover off in today's short video is moving stops to break even, because this is obviously the big dilemma for so many traders is at what point do you move stops to break even? And depending on your style of trading, it will vary, no doubt, depending on the sorts of strategy or style that you're employing. Then there will be should be a different view to moving stops to break even. The problem that we always have is that traders always want to get their stops to break even as quickly as they can because it makes them feel better if the trade gets stopped out. So they've got in here, it goes up a bit, they move their stop to break even over here, it pulls back, stops them out, and they feel a lot better about it. So it says more about the traders, about their feelings of well, at least it wasn't a loser sort of thing, because that's still very much a novice trader mindset, is worrying about the winners and the losers. Well, at least I didn't lose, sort of thing. Well, no, okay. Well, let's just prove a point here then. So what I'm going to do is go through some scenarios of winning trades, losing trades, and all of that. So let's say in this overall scenario we have 4 trades. So we've got 4 trades in total, and I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios. So 4 trades in total. So in scenario 1, scenario 1, we have let's say the trader is using break evens, moving the stops to break evens. So they have 2 break even trades, BE, obviously equal 0 then, so they don't make anything on those. They have 1 loss, 1 loser, and let's assume they're risking 1%, so it's minus 1%, and they have 1 winner. And let's say on their winners they make 3 times their risk, so then they made plus 3 on that. Okay, so that gives them a net of plus 2. Okay, so in that scenario, so you'd say, okay, that's all right, Charlie. Yeah, it is. But the problem we have is that traders, they're always wanting to move their stops to break even when it may not be the right thing to do. So let's go into scenario 2. So we've got scenario 2 here, whereby you don't move your stops to break even. You just leave the trade to work itself out. You're not in a rush. So in this scenario, instead of having 2 break evens and all of that, they actually have 2 losses, 2 loss for minus 2, but they, as a result of not moving their stops up to break even, they actually, instead of only having 1 winner, they have 2 wins. So they have 2 wins of plus 6, giving them a net of plus 4. Okay, so far so good. But there's also a third scenario whereby, okay, so scenario 3, whereby, well, what if the trader had moved their stops to break even? So we're talking about here having 2 break evens, 1 loss, 1 win. Well, what if they had their 2 break evens, but so you got 0 for that, but then they also, instead of having 1 win, they actually had 2 loss, and this is when it shows itself up, because then you have 2 losses of minus 2, ending up with a net of minus 2, obviously, because we're assuming here that the trader has 2 break even, 1 loss, 1 win sort of thing in this scenario over here. But in fact, they could be in a situation whereby the ones that they moved to break even would have actually been the ones that actually, or one of which at least, would have been one that was going to be the profitable one, and the other ones were the losses. So you're given a few different scenarios here. I'm giving a few different scenarios here of whereby moving stops to break even, is it the best thing to do? I've tested it on one of my strategies whereby moving the stop to break even significantly reduced the profitability. It was still profitable, but it reduced the profitability by a decent a decent margin, and yet you still see traders out there moving the stops to break even a lot of the time. I understand why, because it's a mindset thing, but don't impose your will onto the market. You're doing it because you're trying to make yourself feel better about your trading by saying, oh well, at least it was, I only had, I only had one loss because I had two break evens or whatever it might be. But actually some of those break evens could have ended up becoming winners, like this scenario over here, and you actually would have been better off. So if you are finding yourself moving your stops to break even too soon, do look at your style of trading, see if you can back test it and see if actually you would be better off not moving your stops to break even too soon. There always is a point where you're going to want to move your stops to break even, of course, but there is also a point where you don't want to do that when it's too soon. So have a look at it, back test it, and see what you come up with, because you might be surprised. Now, different strategies will have different rules around this sort of thing. Some strategies will require stops being moved to break even sooner than others, but certainly have a look at it, because you may find you're underperforming yourself by making yourself feel good about yourself just in the moment by being able to say, yes, but at least I moved my stop to break even. I shall leave that with you for now. Back on Friday for live trading.